first tattoo I ever did, I must have been about 14 years of age, and one of my homies that was already doing tattoos at the time wasn't able to do a tattoo, but had a long line of customers. So he called me up and pressured me into doing some of those tattoos. So it kind of was like an accident. I grew up pretty much in the inner city in Los Angeles. South Central pretty much. I think now they've kind of like, subdivided all the little hoods in LA, and they've given them names like Jefferson Square and whatever. The area where I live at now, I guess for like the last 5 years or something, they call it, I believe, Arlington Heights. It's pretty much just finding a way to give a fancy name to different little boroughs in the ghetto, but it's pretty much Los Angeles. My name is Ramon Alexander Gonzalez. I am Alex G. Tattooing is an art form that many people think is something that's modern today. They associate street dudes, hoodsters, fucking, even now celebrities, stuff like that. That's not really the whole gist of it. Tattooing has been around for thousands of years. There's tribes like the Maori who have artifacts that have been dug up where they indicate that these tribes have been tattooed for thousands of years. We've dug up corpses that are 2,000 years old that have tattooed faces, tattooed hands, tattooed bodies. They used to tattoo with shark teeth, tiger's claws, things of that nature. Tattooing is a very, 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 very primitive art form. It's a tribal art form. Tribes invented this art form and used it socially to identify themselves, identify their professions, identify their conquest, identify their skills, identify their family. Tattooing is a very, very, very sacred art form. Nowadays, you can walk down to any little shop on the corner, man, for a couple dollars and get you a tattoo, especially in Los Angeles. Go on get a tattoo for $5, man, you know what I mean? It's been watered down to that extent, but there are still people who some consider the gatekeepers who hold all of this information about tattooing and release it to those worthy. Tattooing is a really, really, really deep art form. That's why, think about it, a lot of people get tattooed and it becomes a form of therapy for them. A lot of people, just like a watering hole, a bar, after work you go to have a beer. There's some people who after work or after a stressful situation go get a quick tat. I used to write my name, my middle name, Alex, on everything. Write it on the walls, on the floor, on cars. Anything that I can get my hands on, I just start writing. And eventually that developed into me doing graffiti. I ended up linking up with some dudes that I met in junior high, and we formed our own little crew. And we just started pretty much, tagging on anything, markers, spray cans, just writing on walls, books. Anything that we can get our hands on. We got in a lot of trouble. The first time I ever got in trouble for graffiti, I was in the 6th grade. So the transition from graffitiing to tattooing, or the transition from being a graffiti artist to tattooing, was one that it was very difficult. Those are two completely different mediums. Writing on walls versus writing on skin is just completely different. So the transition wasn't too easy, but once I did, I guess, learn how to work the skin, how to lay ink in skin, then I was able to utilize a lot of the concepts and principles from graffiti over into tattooing. Me personally, there were a lot of setbacks in me trying to open up my own studio. Financial wise, which is a pretty common theme. There's always a setback because no matter how much money you have, you're always going to exceed your budget. So financial situation can be a setback. obtaining permits. Sometimes you may not be eligible to obtain a permit. Sometimes you may not be eligible for a license. There can be all kinds of setbacks. Friends, who you counted on for something important because you're already carrying too much weight can just up and disappear on you. So now you're short manpower. Just people who don't want to support you as a person nor as a brand. So sometimes, a lack of support can be a setback. There can be a number of different setbacks out there. Just location. With my business, location was kind of a setback at first. I opened up my studio in a place that didn't have too much foot traffic because the price point was appealing. So it's kind of like, you got to kind of give and take a little bit. But at the end of the day, if you really, really want it bad enough, a setback is only motivation to go farther and further. A setback is only another reason for you to prove somebody wrong. A setback is only fuel to a fire. When you want something bad enough, regardless of what that thing is, a setback is only kind of like, it's like a punch in the face, because it does kind of sting, but a punch in the face wakes you up. A punch in the face makes you pay attention. It makes you, whoa, what was that? Where did that come from? It makes you start all of a sudden looking for, because you're looking for that next punch. So you're looking for where the movement is coming from when you were just sitting there dormant. So setbacks aren't really something that are going to hold you back unless you don't prepare. If you don't prepare, then yeah, setback, it'll fuck you up, man. It'll gut check you, knock you to the ground, and then kick you while you're down. Leaving behind a legacy is not something that you can plan. Your legacy is something that you kind of transform into as an individual. When you grow and when you live and when you're around different people, you become something that you never even knew you would become. So I used to think my legacy was mainly based on wealth. I want to leave them, my grandchildren, I want to leave them land, mansions, and I want them to be like, yo, man, my grandpa was a very influential, powerful man. At the end of the day, that's not the legacy that I truly wanted to leave behind once I started to grow. Once I started to grow, I realized that forming relationships with people, good people, genuinely good people, is what mattered most in my life. So once I started to exercise being kind to these people and actually, going out of my way to do things for people, is when I started noticing that I started to, have an easier road towards success.